Welcome to the Movies of the Damn podcast. My name is Kyle Grant, and I'm sitting here as always with my friend and published horror author, John Hunt. If you enjoy what you hear here today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Instagram and Twitter at Damn Movies. Email us any questions, comments, and suggestions to moviesthedamned@gmail.com. For further details on John's published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Today, we'll be discussing Tusha Lyman's 2020 found footage horror film, Mothers of Monsters. The film focuses on the crumbling relationship between Abby and her teenage son Jacob. Abby's worst fears are soon proven correct as spy cameras she sets up around her house captures a series of disturbing videos involving Jacob. Jacob, however, discovers the recordings and locks Abby in a closet. Ultimately, Abby is forced to fake her own death and kill Jacob. The film ends as Abby contemplates her own suicide. Just to let everyone know, this movie came to our attention when the Mothers of Monsters Twitter account at Moms of Monsters reached out to us over social media. After communicating back and forth and learning it was available on Amazon Prime, we thought we might as well check it out and give our honest opinion. So that's how we got here today. John, opening thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, so we've had this discussion before about found footage films. And
yeah, we've talked about several found footage films. Some we've liked, some we haven't.
For sure. And remember, I was saying before, like how I was done with them. Like I'm kind of done with them. But
oh yeah, for sure, because you see a lot of the same stuff over and over again.
Well, they're very limited to what they can do, right? Because of budgetary reasons and whatever, right? So they are limited in what they could do. However, in the case of this film, man, I don't know what to say. It was not like they used some of the same mechanics. They used some of the same mechanics to get the story across, but it was such a great story, and very well acted. Like everything about it, I really, really enjoyed this film. Like from a technical standpoint, the progression, the way the building blocks, there's like just so many twists in this, and it all coalesced into a logical, cohesive end that I thought was really, really well done.
And all I can do is echo your words. For any aspiring filmmakers out there, this is how you make a low budget film. They cast it absolutely perfectly.
For sure.
They got the perfect two actors. They didn't try and do anything over the top that they didn't have within their budget. They didn't try and do any crazy scenes with special effects when they didn't have it. But as you said, it was well written. It was well acted. The casting was great. The story was great. This is how you make an independent movie.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But let's go over the premise for the people listening. So essentially, the mother believes that her son is either a psychopath, is a psychopath and is contemplating mass murder. So
she's kind of at her wit's end, is what I was going to say. Like it sounds like she'd previously discovered those kind of like those drawings of his school, where it's like he's planning out a school shooting. And I think it was actually a funny line. She said, like, he claimed it was just for like geometry class or something that.
Yeah, so
and it sounds like she's reached out to a bunch of authorities and people for help, and kind of he's slipped through the cracks.
Yes, so that was part of her whole premise, that he's smart, he's manipulative, that he allows those people to see only what he wants them to see, and they are unable to dig deeper than what she's doing, and she's the mom and she knows more apparently, right? So it's like the premise of her making this film for other mothers or other people out there who are worried about their children, but are also stuck in that same position where, like, what do you do if your child's a psychopath? Like, do you turn them in, or what do you do about this? You don't want other people to die, but you also don't want your kid to rot in jail or to rot in some sort of mental institution when you don't really have a real reason for it other than
No,
your
and that's
intuition.
that's exactly right. And I think that really her kind of setting up these cameras and
Hmm.
filming everything, it was for two reasons. So yes, it was to kind of reach out and show other mothers out there in the similar boat, but it was also to prove to see if her fears were correct or not.
And it's
Because I
it's
think she just went through so many times where she reached out to experts, reached out to people,
mhm.
and they all said, no, no, you're wrong. He's fine. And so she needed that proof. She needed to really see for herself. Am I the crazy one, or is there something up with him?
Yes, so it's one of those things where it's like what do they call it? They call it confirmation bias, right? So she is
Yep.
absolutely convinced she's right. And then everyone that she brings her son to says, "No, you're wrong." But and she is in a better position to know more about it because she is living with them. So she's convinced herself that she's actually the right one in this. But you'll see throughout the film that she talks to other experts, and she even talks to that shrink on the phone. And he brings up stuff about her past that she thought was real and actually wasn't. So, and then she was like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about my son." So they were introducing elements where you're just like, okay, well, is she wrong here? Or, is she reading into this more than just an over the top, out of control teenager, right? Because there are plenty of those out there that aren't
Or perhaps
psychopaths.
she is sorry, he is out of control and causing issues, but perhaps she isn't just the innocent victim. Perhaps she's playing a role in it as well. And if you remember, at the beginning, she found all of her shoes cut up, and he's like,
Yep.
"No, mom, that was actually you." And then in a phone call, I think to the father, he says, "No, mom's drunk, doing these dumb things." So it's like maybe there's a little bit of column A, maybe there's a little bit of column B going on. Like maybe there's kind of a little pull in this situation.
Well, I took that in a different way. I took that in the way that this is what he does to try to manipulate other people. And if you'll notice throughout it that he never admits that he does anything, right? So
Yeah,
it's like, and then he always turns it on someone else. So I'm pretty sure he cut up her shoes, and like I was always sure that he cut up her
I am as
shoes.
well.
Yeah, but I
I am
mean,
as well. But
I never
I
had.
was sorry. I was just going to say that. Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say that. I think there is scenes as well where she was drinking too much and passing out. You saw the one where he wakes up and finds her on the couch and puts a blanket on her.
Yes, so she did drink wine often and stuff like. But that's all I mean is that I didn't think that she cut up her own shoes at any point, or it was used to muddy the waters that way. That from my perspective, I just thought it was like, yeah, the son knows she drinks, he knows she's unhappy, and then he could spin this around on her to cause her to self doubt. So it's there's so many interesting layers to this that had a lot of nuance in it, and that they're very subtle throughout. But at the very end, you kind of, it all comes together, and you're just like, wow, that was. I don't even know what to say. Like I was really, really impressed with this, and the presentation and the writing. I don't know what to say. Other than that, if you haven't seen this, you should do yourself a favor and see it. It's really quite compelling.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. You have to really check this one out because even though we're giving this praise and we're saying how good it was, it's tough to get your head around how like a found footage movie of a mother filming her teenage son can be this good. But you have to see it. And Amazon Prime, it can be streamed. But as we already said, great casting, great acting, great writing, really cool story, a lot of good stuff. And I also enjoyed how the movie was set up. I like that it was kind of set up from like a point, like the opening was a point of view of you don't know who, but somebody kind of clicking through different videos, different files on a computer. I thought that was kind of a cool, unique way of presenting a film. And I guess I interpreted it at least as later on in the film, you find out that the person clicking through these files is Jacob,
Mm-hmm.
as he's discovering that his mom has videotaped him. Is that the way that you looked at it as well?
Well, I didn't. So I wasn't even really thinking about that. I was just at the time. I was just thinking about, okay, this is how they're presenting it. Someone running through all these other clips so we can get a clear view of the characters and how they're building them and how the perspectives change from each friend or whoever, right? So
Yeah.
I didn't actually at any point stop to think who was actually clicking on it. But when it was Jacob at the end, I was like, oh my god, why didn't I think about this? Right? Because that's what I mean. Like the story was so good, it kind of pulled me in a different direction where normally I don't get pulled. Right? Like normally, I'm able to um, see the big picture as well as watching the little picture. Right? But this time I did not. I did not see that. So I didn't focus on it either way, which is another way of saying I just wasn't paying that good of attention that I normally do, or it was just so well presented that I didn't even consider thinking about it.
Yeah, and throughout this movie, I personally at least, I had no idea where it was going to go.
Yeah.
I didn't have a prediction for the ending. I didn't really have any clue where this film was going to take us.
Hmm.
Um, and to be honest, I guess there's always her kind of thinking, "Oh, what's he going to do?" But I don't think at any point, or maybe I missed her, I'm misremembering, her worrying for her own safety. Like there's times where he was throwing stuff around and damaging things, but I don't know if I remember her ever worrying for her own safety. So I didn't really predict that he was going to attack her and then end up locking her up and then ultimately end up locking her in a closet.
So she was concerned for her own safety, and I think she was because you saw her, she like from what this is what from what I saw, anyways. Um, like the way he would act, sometimes she would jump and then she would like creep around the house because she was worried about what he might do and all that type of stuff. But I think she was at the point where if I get hit, if I get hurt, and the cameras are running, this will prove to everyone that I was right. She was more concerned about being right um, for most of the movie than she was about her own well being. It seemed to me, anyways.
Yeah, no, no, fair enough. And honestly, throughout this movie, I didn't have a lot of issues because, as you said, it was crafted so well, it was put together so well. Until we got near the end.
Okay.
Did you have any problems near the end, or do you want me to go through mine?
Well, the only problem I had is like he how he electrified the door.
Oh, you don't think that would work?
It would work only if she grabbed the handle.
Exactly. So that's what my one issue was, is like, why not just kick at the door? Why not shoulder at the door? Why not kick through the drywall?
That's what I
Like,
mean.
there's
Like I thought
options
that
here.
too. I thought that too. Like if she knows where if she just went through that one drywall wall, she'd be into the hallway,
Exactly, right?
right? So
And
I did think about that. I said that to Ethan, and Ethan was like, "Well, the closet's really small. She wouldn't have much room to do it." And I'm like, maybe, but I would definitely
she could
try.
dig her way out, right?
Yeah,
Because you
yeah,
saw she ended up having a knife in there, which I have another issue with too. If he's going to go to the extent of locking her up, he's not going to leave a knife in there with her. But she could have used that to burrow her way through the drywall. She had nothing
hmm
but time.
I didn't have an issue with the knife. Did he know that that knife was in there?
No, but considering how like smart he was, because he was shown to be very, very highly intelligent, how much planning he went through with this, I can't see him making that mistake.
Well, the only I don't consider it a mistake because in from what I've seen of this character, he knew he was in never any danger from his mom. He believed he was never in any danger from his mom.
So he thought he was manipulating the situation perfectly.
Yeah, so he wouldn't think she would have a knife in there. He wouldn't think that she would do that. So that I think for him it wouldn't even occur to him to look for that knife. But
Yeah,
that's what I got from his character. But once again, I don't know. That's just
but
how I
but
saw it.
okay, fine, but still, she could have used the knife to burrow through the drywall, even if,
Absolutely.
as Ethan said, she doesn't have enough room to
No, no.
kick or shoulder through, or which I think she does. Like
Yeah,
you can get through drywall fairly easily. You can definitely
absolutely.
get through a door without touching the doorknob.
For sure, I agree. Cause I note that. I go, is that a steel door? Or like, why why is she not kicking it? Right? Like, if it was a steel door, then yeah, the whole thing's electrified. You're screwed. But
And I get the fact that she's the owner of the house. She doesn't want to damage it, but
I
at
don't
this
get
point, all
the.
bets are off. Right? She's been tasered. She is locked away in a closet. It's like survival at this point.
She's
But
been in
just to
there
rewind,
she's been in there for 2 days. Like, yeah, you're digging out.
exactly.
You're digging out.
But just to rewind for a second, when she kind of wakes up in her own room, remember kind of at the when the kidnapping, I want to say, first happens, and she wakes up in her own room, realizes that it's locked, and then she tries to pick the lock to get towards the house. Um, I think a reasonable person at that point doesn't try and pick the lock. They realize they're in over their head, and they just go out the window. Thoughts?
Um, hmm.
You know the scene I'm talking about, right?
Uh, which part?
It's when he I can't remember I can't remember how she gets there, but she wakes up in a room, whether he drugged her or tasered her, I can't remember. Wakes up in the room, um, the door's locked. She goes to pick her way out of the lock. It electrifies her, and then she wakes up duct taped to the chair.
Oh, okay. So you think that she shouldn't have been duct taped? Like, what's the problem?
No, no. My problem is that I feel that when she first wakes up, realizes her door is locked, she wouldn't try and pick that lock. She would just go out of the window.
Oh, why? I don't do. I don't see how she could have foreseen him electrifying that door or the knob.
No, she couldn't have foreseen it, but just the point that she's in the room, the door is locked. I think that's just enough to be like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, maybe. That 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 could be seen. That I didn't see her as being that way. I think she would take the most direct route, which would be the door. She still wanted to confront him. She still wanted to
Yeah.
apologize and or try to explain
Hmm.
um, what she was doing and why she was doing what she was doing. Like she wasn't in that frame yet. She was in the frame afterwards when she was stuck in the room for the closet for a day or so. But
Yeah.
beforehand, I wouldn't say she was quite there yet.
And then again, and it's something I've brought up issues with in previous movies. A taser doesn't make you go unconscious.
No, it does not.
And it's just we see it over and over again. And I'm not gonna put this as an X against this filmmaker or anything because there's just that confusion in the public, but it's something that we need to educate ourselves on. Um, and then my one issue was too is so she's in the bedroom. He has her duct taped to the chair, and he wants her to make that confession video about how Jacob isn't the crazy one, I'm the crazy one.
Yep.
But then in the frame, you can see that her being duct taped to the chair, so
Yep.
it's an unusable video.
Yeah, you know what? Ethan said the exact same thing, and I was like, yeah, but you could easily edit that out if you
Yeah, I guess
wanted
crop
to.
the frame or something
Yeah,
like that.
it's not hard. Not that
Yeah.
but once again though, like you'd have to think about that as what the guy could do, but normally they have to show you what they are doing. So I would agree that that duct tape shouldn't have been showing in the frame for the purposes of the movie, because now we have to project about what he might do, and that's not how this should work. They should be giving you all the information that you need um, to be involved in the story. So and
Hmm.
that duct tape thing takes you out of it, makes you stop to think, well, now we can't use that because she's clearly duct taped. Then that defeats the purpose of that scene. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly it. And John, this wasn't something that I thought of afterwards. It's something that like hit popped in my head as I was watching it. So as you said, that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Ethan said. He goes, as soon as it happened, he goes, well, he can't use that now. That's exactly what he
Yeah.
said. So I was
Ex-
like, yeah, it would be, but it would be easy to crop out. But once again, I do agree with the whole premise is that nothing should be taken out of that film. And if you
mhm.
don't know that he's going to crop it out later, like he didn't say that, right? He didn't say anything about it. Like, don't worry, mom, you could take a couple of takes here. I'm just going to edit it later. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, one line would have fixed it. You're absolutely right.
right. So they could have done that, but like, you know, um, on a totality of it, like, what are we talking? We're this is very minimal, the stuff we're nitpicking at, right?
Oh, for
It's,
sure, right. And as always, if for people who haven't listened to an episode of ours before, no matter how much we like a movie, we're here to discuss every inch of it, right? So
yeah,
we're going to talk about small little things here and there, but don't be confused. For me at least, overwhelming praise. Everyone needs to watch this movie. But even with a near perfect movie, we're still going to find a couple issues here and there, a couple improvements that could be made, in our opinion at least.
yeah, and that's exactly it. It's our opinion. Other people watching this could be like, no, those guys are wrong, and that's absolutely fine. Uh,
Yeah,
everyone,
and let us
yeah,
know when we're wrong, right? Reach out to us. We want to hear these varying opinions. One opinion that I want to hear, John, what did you think of the end? I didn't see that coming, her plan to escape and her ultimately killing him. Did you foresee that at all? What were your thoughts on that?
I thought there would be a deadly encounter, for sure.
Okay.
I thought that, but what I didn't think, And once again, the writing is so good because they set this up so well. It's like because he said to his mom beforehand, like, you know, just for when he was asking her to make the second admission, like while she was in the closet to make the second video admission or whatever it was. Um,
Yeah.
he said, just do it. After this, you'll see. I'll show you. You'll see. And he puts his phone down when he says it. You'll see on everything will fine. You'll understand at the end. Like he says something to that effect, right? At the end of
Okay.
this, you'll understand it at the end. And then so she does this. She escapes, kills him, and then sees the video of him going, you know, um, I never meant for it to go this far. Blah blah blah. Right? He was saying that I was never going to let you die, Mom. I was never going to do anything like this. I just wanted, you hurt my feelings really badly, and I wanted to lash out at you. This is the only way I know how to lash out at you. And you know what I mean? Like that, he did this whole video of like almost an apology for what he did, or just to explain what he did. And I thought that was like so clever for two reasons. One, it's potentially possible that that Jacob actually meant that he didn't,
Yeah.
it went this far, and then he got to that point where it's like, man, I just want this video so my mom doesn't get me sent to a mental institution, but after this, like, you know I didn't really want this to happen, right? To go as far as it did. Or two, um, it's another way that he manipulates his mom, right? So if he does the video, and he has a video and he has it safekeeping and he's using it as blackmail, there's going to be tension in that house forever. She's going to be on
Yeah.
him forever. She's going to be looking for more evidence to sabotage her son or do whatever, because she doesn't want to be in that position, right? And but him making that video and explaining it to her is another manipulation, I thought, potentially, for him to like live peacefully, because now look, we've had our big smash up. I'm not a psychopath. I didn't mean what happened. Let's get along better. So it's another way for him to throw a wrinkle into it, right? And
And that's an interesting viewpoint. I never thought of point two there. I thought it was just point one that his feelings got badly hurt. He's a troubled teen, but perhaps not as troubled as his mother thought, as she was making him out to be. And it was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, but he was only doing this to kind of scare her, and things kind of got out of hand.
yeah, so like that's what I mean. I saw the two potentialities there, and I'm like, this this is this is such a clever way to do it, right? Because you don't know. And Ethan was talking about it before, and he always says this, and I agree with him to a certain extent. Ambiguity in a movie is good, provided that the ambiguity has a logical conclusion on either ambiguous end, right? And this does have
Yeah.
that, and I'm like, that's great. That's great. Because you don't know which one it is, and you could see her staring at that noose at the end that she doesn't know which one it is either. So
And
it's like,
what a cool way to end the
ah,
movie,
so
with
good.
her standing there contemplating the suicide. And to be honest, I had to watch it all the way through the credits, because for those of you who haven't seen the movie, the entire credits, they're rolling, and it's her standing in the background, not a freeze frame, but her like continually standing there and looking at the rope and touching the rope, and it's like, is she going to hang herself? Is she not? And then it kind of ends, but then you see at the very very end, another mother watching the videos that she posted as she had intended.
Hmm. And another thing about it is like that was her dream. Remember, that was her
Yeah.
dream of how she was going to die, right?
Oh, that's right. I
Right.
forgot about that.
And then so like
Yeah.
that's so incredible too. And he watched the videos, so he knew that, right? Because he was the one watching
Hmm.
the videos for the whole thing, so he knew that. Jacob knew that, and when he set up that step ladder with the noose and in the thing, and then secondly, you know what I also loved? Those drawings, right? So remember, she was saying that he was a psychopath because when he was younger, he drew these pictures of a baby inside a mother knifing his way out, or knifing the way out
Yeah.
of the mother, and then he said, "Who?"
Super creepy, by the way.
Yeah, and then but she asked him, and this is also in one of the videos. She asked him, well, who is that? And she said it was her mother, like the grandma. It's Noni.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
knife wielding killer was her,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then she kills her son with the knife.
Little foreshadowing there.
Right? Like I thought there's so many clever little elements in this film, man. I really enjoyed some of this stuff, the way it was put together. I
Because
really.
it did get to the point where she was wielding the knife. Like obviously when she escaped from the closet, it was self-defense, but then it was to the point where she wasn't in danger anymore and she kept stabbing him anyways.
Hmm. For
Yeah, so
sure. And it,
it's a complex movie.
yeah. So and once again, it could be part of his manipulation because um, because he knew about her brother, and it just could have been another way for him to, you know, to mess with her, to say those drawings were her when in actuality as a kid it was him being a psychopath, and it was actually him cutting himself out of his own mother because he didn't like her, right? There's so many ways you could look at this, and either one is logical and they both work, and it's just I like that. I like it a lot.
Again, this movie does so much for so little, right? It's
For
just
sure.
picture perfect. Again, I've said it once, but if you're a filmmaker looking at starting out, this is how you make an independent movie. Watch this movie, learn from it. Um, really excited to see where this filmmaker goes next. And again, filmmaker's name is Tushia Lyman. Really excited.
And look at all the small little building blocks that they put into it. Like, remember she was wearing gloves throughout the film. I'm like, why is
Yeah.
she wearing these gloves throughout the film? And then she confronts him later, thinking, because she found some sort of cream or something or whatever it was. And she says, "Have you been putting this in my gloves?" So like he was causing her eczema. She's
Wild,
like,
hey?
it's like there's so many little things that are done in this film that you're peak you're because you saw at the very beginning that she's wearing all these gloves. So you're like, okay, well, what's going on with these gloves? So like, and then you see she's not wearing the gloves, she has sores on the top of her hands. You're like, what is this from? Like, what's going on? Because it's never mentioned at all until
Mhm.
then. And you're like, oh my god, so good, so good.
Wild, wild, wild. Well, critics liked it. Rotten Tomatoes. Now, again, take this with a grain of salt. On Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is sitting at 73, but there's only 11 reviewers, so it's still tentative at this point. Rotten Tomatoes audience score, 93. But again, only 54 reviewers, so this is going to change. This is going to grow. It'll be interesting to see where it ends up. So I went and looked at IMDb as well. And IMDb right now, it's sitting at 4.9 out of 10, which really surprised me, with 168 reviewers. Um, so that IMDb one really kind of threw me off because it's tough for me to think that people would give this a thumbs down. But some good praise on Rotten Tomatoes. Thoughts?
Um, so for me on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm very much in line with the audience score. I look at it um, from a few different angles. One, it's a low budget found footage film. You're limited in what you can do immediately.
Yeah,
Immediately limited. You don't have the creative like you don't have the creative freedom to do whatever you want, right?
you're
So
right.
so with what this director did with what they had, I'm a 95. Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know what?
The
And
writing.
that's a really good way to look at it. Like
Hmm.
considering what they were working with, this is fantastic. So I'm with you. I'm in the 90s.
Yeah, and IMDb, I don't really know. I can only think that it's just like I said, like Ethan said the same thing. He says, like, I'm done with found footage films too, but this one was good. That's one of those things. So like a lot of times it could be, now I'm just speculating. I don't know obviously, but it could be like, because if I wasn't watching this for the podcast and I turned it on and I knew immediately, without even paying attention, it was a found footage film, I don't know if I'd be willing to watch the whole thing.
Oh, so you think some people might not have watched the full thing and just given it a thumbs down type of thing?
Potentially, right? Because they're tired of the found footage thing, right? Everyone's doing found footage,
Interesting.
right? Because now, once again, that'd be a mistake, right?
Yeah.
That clearly would have been a mistake on my part not to give it a chance because it's a found footage film. But once again, like I've because of I guess I do have a bias in that sense because like I said, there's only so much you can do with it, and I've seen it all before, but not this time, right? I haven't seen this before. This was so good. So
No,
I
very, very good.
yeah.
Don't have anything for you for budget or box office. As we said a few times, we think the budget's pretty low. For people who are interested in watching it, Amazon Prime, watch it there. And I would think as well, now I didn't look this up, but it would be available on other streaming services where it's kind of on demand, you pay for it. But I would say most people out there have Amazon Prime. If you don't, do yourself a favor, sign up, watch this movie.
Yeah, for sure. And once again, like I don't know where this director found these actors, but they did a great job. Great job.
Fantastic, great job all around.
Yeah,
Big thumbs up from both of us. We're both in the '90s, nitpicking as usual, but overall, fantastic movie.
for sure.
Anything else to add on this one, buddy?
Nope, I got nothing.
Well, folks, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Twitter and Instagram at Damp Movies. We want to hear what you thought of today's podcast and any suggestions you have, especially in terms of what movies you would like us to discuss next. Send us an email to moviesthedamned@gmail.com. Please also check out John's full-length novels. His first two novels, Dollhouse and The Tracker, are Amazon bestsellers. You can also order his novella Balance, his book of short stories, Four Shots of Horror, and his newest novel, Off the Grid, on Amazon right now. For further details on John's other published works, please visit his blog, johnhutfiction.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe. Be kind, everyone.